I want to welcome all of you to the Spirit of St. Mike's. We had a week off last week, but today we are back. Indeed, it's good to see you. It's almost like a spring-like day as I look through the window. Sun is shining, a hopeful day. And in fact, Jean normally is part of our host, but today she is in the role of as a guest. And so the host is going to be Anne and myself. And Anne, welcome back. And Frances is our host, guest, and she will help us through the conversation along with Jean. And so welcome, Frances, and welcome, Jean. And last fall, I was thinking about what direction St. Michael's ought to go, and how do we get excited about possibilities. So I kind of got together about 6 to 7 people, and we had a Friday evening meeting and Saturday almost all day meeting. And Wendy Fletcher, our resident preacher, led that retreat-like visioning or dreaming for the community of St. Michael. That's how our new path came into being. Now here we are. Some of you heard bits and pieces of it, but it's shaping a better form so that we can realize what this new path is for the people of St. Michael. So I'm going to invite Anne to begin to this new path by posing some real serious questions to both of our guests, please.
Thank you. So I was hoping that both of you could share what drew you, what motivated you to give up that Friday night last November and to join this team? I'll let you decide who goes first.
I can. Is that okay? Okay. I had a conversation with Sam previous to this when he talked generally about the new path and the new model. I think I was very hopeful and intrigued because it involved opening up our doors and becoming more of a community outreach place. Right. I think it's fair to say that in this day and age that we need to do more of that. And I have to say that it tied into with some of the challenges that have been put forth by Bishop Todd and by Church House too. I'd had a conversation with Bishop Todd jumping back into the ordination stream, and this is the kind of thing that he was talking about community work. So it all kind of came together nicely and tied in nicely. So there I was.
And I think for me, it was, again, the same. It was hopeful. It was intriguing. It was perhaps a little bit scary too, because there were some concerns that I have had for years, and now you were hearing other people voice those same concerns, so it makes them real. But it was very hopeful. And I grew up in going to St. Mike's, so I have quite a long history. I remember those days growing up where that yard at the side of the church was filled with families, and we would have games and big Sunday school picnics. And I remember the days of Bonnie Cortez pulling out a guitar, and there being no less than 30 youth, ages 6 to 16, coming out to do folk singing because they just wanted to be part of something, of the community, of something positive. It was fun. And some of those kids had no connection to the church whatsoever, other than through friends. That to me is what those first families, like the Coxes and the Phillips, and to an extent my parents, although they came maybe a few late years into that process, they had a dream about building a community and a place, not just for that immediate next Sunday. It was for the future. And I wanted to be part of that vision. I would hate us to fail them in a sense, because we're afraid to try anything new, to take a dangerous step, and to use our faith to reach out. And I think that's what they envisioned when they started St. Mike's. So very, very hopeful that's what came out of that meeting,
Mhm.
was that there are some wonderful ideas and we can dream, and let's take a chance. So I think I like that word, hopeful.
Thank you both.
Mhm.
Jean, will you speak about your reasons about this uh, lunch bags
Oh, the lunch bags.
and because that was one of the dreams you kind of brought to the New Path Ministry meeting that weekend.
Mhm.
Retreat.
Mhm.
Can you just say what's happened with it?
What's happened? I think I sent a text to you before I sent anything to New Path and just said, what about doing bag lunches, 100 bag lunches? At that point, I think I hadn't narrowed anything down. It was just, let's do this and let's do it a lot. So we started, when did we start? I can't even remember now. It was February 15th was the day after Valentine's, was the first one. And the idea was then that we would put together 100 brown bag lunches, and everybody knows they have granola bars and juice boxes in them by now, and a sandwich, and a piece of fruit. So it went over very, very well. It was relatively easy to pull together from just a working point of view. And then Omicron came along though. So we decided, rather than distributing from the church, which was plan A, to go to plan B, which was to take them to Arcade, which we've been doing. We've done 3 now. We're doing another one next week. The parish response has been phenomenal. I hope that we can just keep going forever and ever. And I think we will look at bringing the model back to the church and distributing from our church, but we're not quite there yet. So this one that we're doing next week will be delivered to Arcade as well. But yeah, the parish response has been great. I think part of it was just as we were opening up a tiny bit after COVID, or not after, there's no such, I don't think there's any after COVID, but you know what I mean, as the numbers had been dwindling a little bit. And people were very ready to jump into something. I know that one particular parishioner who's quite involved just said, I'm just so ready to do something. So it's been very heartwarming to see.
Yeah. Francis, maybe, we've been talking about Food Forest and you have just really taken it in such love and appreciation of what it can achieve. Could you speak something about what's Food Forest? Because some of us may not know fully what it means. And so if you could just say how that whole idea came into being and where we are with it, please.
So I have a little bit of experience in that there's a food forest in my neighborhood. And it's just, and actually in my neighborhood, they're going to be building an urban farm in Cavendish Park that will be a collaboration with Hutton House. So a lot of their clientele will be learning how to grow food and learning that skill set while providing food for those who need it. So what it is just a concept of planting edible plants, trees that help sustain each other. So the idea is that you have fruit trees, but you also have other plants that support the growth, the healthy fertilization of the plant. So they all work together just like they would basically in the natural world. And the idea is that you have these plantings of edible trees and bushes and other plants that are there for anyone to take. And we know that food security is a really big issue. It's a pressing issue in London, in the neighborhood around the church. We like to think of, we live in a really comfortable, well-to-do neighborhood, but there are a lot of people that are stretched very thin. And not only is it a food security issue, and we experienced a bit of that in the pandemic when for short times, there were things that we couldn't get. And even now, there are some shelves empty, but I would say a lot of us are pretty safe. We can hold out for, a few weeks if things go up in price, but there are a lot of people that don't have that luxury. And I think it's a dignity issue too, where you
Yes.
can just participate in the production of food, but also take what you need without lining up and filling out forms and answering questions and justifying your need. Just take what you need and be part of the community. So that was kind of our dream, that we could use some of that property that we have that's sitting there looking very well kept, but somewhat empty. That why couldn't we put it to better use to share the wealth that we have with others?
Mm, mhm. So just a little follow-up to that is, uh, you have already started this journey, and
Mhm.
um, did either of you encountered any real challenges, or what have you learned from it in a surprising way, positive way, or gee, I never thought that would be a challenge in all I've had. So if you could kind of share what's happening, what are you learning from this journey so far, be helpful.
Do you want to go first, Jean?
Sure, I can.
Okay.
I don't know if it's so much as of a surprise as just I like to see things unfold in an orderly fashion, and I like to have a bow at the end of the rainbow. That's just me. And with this, we're just beginning, and we're just taking baby steps, and we know this much. We know this much, but we don't know the whole picture. And I can tell you that Francis has reminded me many times that some of this, Jean, is a leap in faith. And it's true. And I need to be reminded of that, because as I say, I like to look at the huge picture, and I realize that no, that's not how this is going to go. It's going to go in baby steps in different directions, and I need to be open to surprise.
Okay.
And I mean, we're not as far along with the project as Jean's project is, where that we've done what, 3 or so now packings of
Three, I think.
lunches. So,
I think three.
you're learning as you go along.
Mhm.
You're perfecting it. But again, it's going to change when we start serving the
Mhm.
lunches from the door, our
Mhm.
building. But I would say I expected that there would be roadblocks, that where are we going to get the money for a fruit project? How are we going to make it work? I think that what I would be most surprised is the level of excitement and support, both within the parish and outside. And that's really affirming. It's again, hopeful, that I think that people are really, really ready to work
Mhm.
together, to have a sense of community. There's so much negative news and divisiveness in the world right now that people are just so ready to be part of something positive. And if it can help, without, I think the idea that we are willing to take a chance and help people at an expense to ourselves, with no expectation that they will repay us, that they will
Right.
have to join the parish, whatever, that's what's making people excited, that we are not doing something just to pay the bills, to keep the building going, that it's reaching out, taking that leap of faith, and they're ready for it. And I think that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
One of the things as an outsider, because you both are giving the real leadership, I just kind of watch it from the side with the bag lunch and the other projects. Some people are willing to just come and say, "Oh, I may not be able to do anything physically, but I want to give you some resources to make this happen." That has been a real blessing. And I think the journey just started, Ole. So
Yeah.
let's hope, okay. Jean?
Oh, I was going to say, I should mention that I now have 4 teams of people to make sandwiches.
You
Yeah.
see? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was one of the concerns when we started. Are we going to just burn out a few? But there are 4 teams. So see, I think when we serve others in love of Christ, not expecting anything back, people know that is the cost. that Christ is calling us. So the cost has become greater all of a sudden. It's not about, oh, who did what. No, it's about the cost of being with the one who are, in whatever reason, in need of something. And we just say, okay, here it is. No, nothing is expected back. Just one meal. That's all, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe Anne, you want to do some follow-up questions?
I do, but I also wanted to take a moment to highlight a few things that you both have said, because I think that one of the amazing things about the new path, just as someone who's even less involved, even the step back from Sam, is that so many of the problems facing us today, so much of the news feels so big. It feels like you can't do anything to really affect change in our world. You know, we have these values. We know that God loves us. We know that we are to love others, but it feels too big. And what the New Path team has really helped me to see is that you can start taking those small steps.
Mhm.
And there's something tangible, and it's not easy. I don't think that any of the work anyone's been doing here has been easy, but it's not as hard as I think we make it out to be in our heads. So I wanted to highlight that, because what you said reminded me of those things. And thank you for the work that you're doing. My last question is, what's next? Any other projects that you have up your sleeves you haven't that we haven't talked about yet? Or what do you see as potential next steps?
I tend to think that the potential next steps focus on the garden and the yard and the trees. So might be more Francis's shtick right here than mine.
Well, yeah, so the next steps would be to present to parish council tonight. God willing, they're willing to back it. We get that step in motion, but I see the garden as just a starting point. In itself, it is sustaining, it's nourishing the community, but I see it as a real stepping stone for that community hub where vision like a planting day or a planting weekend where we invite people from within St. Mike's, but also the neighborhood, because we are part of that Facebook group for the neighborhood. And we're talking not just Council Park, it's the whole Ridgewood area and Berkshire to join us. What about volunteer hours for those youth who are desperate to find a way? They've lost 2 years of losing connections in the community. They are now desperate to find a place to make a difference and to earn those hours. Come on out. We'd be happy to do that. What about people just in the neighborhood that might have not met each other, coming out to what's going on, talking to our gardening expert, talking to us. Let's hear from them, actively listen. What are the needs in the community? What are their concerns? What can we offer? What about families coming out, and there are activities for the kids? They can help plant, they can do some activities. What about future workshops on permaculture or whatever for the neighborhood that they can actually help us sustain the garden, but learn to perhaps how can they provide for others from their own garden? What about inviting the schools? There's a new food security part of the Ontario Science curriculum. We've got schools within the neighborhood. Would they be interested in using our garden as a place to do some of those lessons or a model? What about all the apartment dwellers that just want some place to maybe touch the soil, pick an apple, whatever it might be, or sit quietly and contemplate? There's so much potential around the simple act of having a garden, and that's a starting point. And it gives the community a focal hub, a place to gather, to wonder, and to build. And that's really what the New Path wants to do. So there's so many possibilities, and that's only those outreach. Let's open the doors to the building and have worship in different forms every single day. There should be so much going on. We just have to give the community a reason to feel welcome and to keep coming, and let's build from there.
It's wonderful.
Well, what I'm sensing is we all have received from our community and from our neighborhood And often we live in our own little world and we just don't know how to give. And also, we're not sure if we offer to give, is it a secure place for me to go and give? So we want to make sure this is a safe place, secure place. People can come and offer their skills and talents to people and feel good about, even breathing fresh air, touching the ground, and just being part of the earth, because one day we are going to go there, so one form or another. So might as well just feel that earth, and just to know that, yeah, this has sustained us, and I can be part of making it sustainable for all of us, others as well, and myself as well. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Francis for your incredible amount of work, and another huge thank you to Jean for your incredible amount of work. And I want to say thank you to the community, because without your support and your, cheering this team on, it's not going to happen. So I'm hoping for greater things to evolve from this, because St. Michael is in very real way is a time of transition within 3-4 months. So I also believe that transition times can be transformative times, and these are opportunity to transform St. Michael's in a new way and new direction. And so let's come together. If you can come and help the team, please come in person. If you can come and help them with the resources, please reach out to them, and they'll show you how to do that. And so I am looking for great things to emerge from the work of this team, our new path. And so thank you to both of you. And at any time you want to come and talk about something that you're facing, or want to bring new direction for the new path, please let us know. We'd be happy to have you for that. In conclusion, let me read a couple of verses from Psalm 126. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, then were we like those who dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with shouts of joy. So I wait for shouts of joy or laughter as this New Jerusalem, a taste of New Jerusalem being in St. Michael. So thank you so much for joining us. And I pray that you'll have a good week. If the weather is good, go out for a walk, enjoy God's creation, hear the singing of the birds. God bless you. See you next week. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.
Thank you.